So we're going to do I'll talk a little bit about Azure Copilot, kind of how it works, and give you a demo of what it can be used for, and maybe what it's good at and what it's not so great at. Your jobs are safe, take that now. So, if you want to connect, please do. You can connect with me on LinkedIn there, that's my email. We need a few subscribers on our YouTube channel because we create a lot of videos but nobody watches them. So, high quality content, low quality videos. So yeah, that'd be cool if anybody wants to subscribe to that. So who are we, or am I? Cloud infrastructure. So we've been focusing on Azure infrastructure kind of since 2011, since it came out. So we've been building all kinds of environments across various sectors, from small ones to large ones to global ones. We do a lot of high security environments as well for government, NHS, healthcare, private and public healthcare as well. And so, what is it? So, Azure Copilot is an AI tool designed to help you operate, optimize, monitor, and troubleshoot your Azure resources. Do a little bit more than that. Microsoft call it a companion. I don't want to personify it too much. It's just a thing, an AI tool. So what we'll do is look at some of the components of it. So obviously it's using OpenAI, it's using ChatGPT-4, it's got the large language model to build up queries and get text from there. It's basically an orchestrator, so it kind of links to that. It's got access to the latest Azure documentation as well, so if you ask it questions about Azure, it can go to the documentation, find that for you, including code, scripts and things like that as well, so you can use it. That's where I personally think it's really, really useful for those kind of things, for the technical stuff. So what it's also got access to is the Azure Resource Manager, so you can go and query the Azure Graph interface, the APIs for that. It's got access to the costs, the service health platform, so you can go and find you information about your environment from the platform itself, so you can ask it questions. So, are we familiar with Azure Graph, the Graph API thing? So you can build queries to say, go and get me this kind of information from my environment, and it'll go and do that. So it uses that, so it can tell you everything about your environment if you query it properly. But with this, you don't actually have to write the queries. Just understand them, and they call it. And what it does is adds metadata and extra data to that. So it gets that. You ask it a question, goes gets some information from that, adds some other rules and metadata to that. They call that grounding. Retrieval augmented generation it's called. So it's going to get that and added its own bit of information as well. And then what it does then is it does a meta prompt. So basically takes all that information, what you've asked, it tries to translate it, gets some more information from the platform, from the documentation, and creates a prompt to the large language model from ChatGPT-4, and it rewrites that prompt to get try and get more accurate and useful information for you, and it sends a response back. It gets a response back from there, and then it sends it through to the user, who is always delighted with the results. Sometimes. He is anyway. So that's kind of any questions on this bit. That was too much depth, but
I have a question. Is this free of charge, or is there a license?
coming up, it's free. So a little bit about security as well. They call it OBO, on behalf of. So ARM itself, the Azure Resource Manager, will take care of security. So you're still using role-based access, it's still using Azure policy, Azure governance, and policies and budgets as well. So whatever, it can actually go and do operations in your environment, but it can only do it if you can do it. So when sometimes people see it, I'm a bit worried about that, because it might cause a lot of havoc in my environment because a user might do something stupid. Well, if that user does something stupid, and it's got access to do something stupid, they could do it anyway. So what you need to be doing is controlling what your users can do. The problem is there, not with the Copilot, and the same happening with other things. I've seen customers think, we want to block access to the portal because they could go and do stuff. Well, if you've got PowerShell access, you can do all that anyway. So you've got to get that role-based access correct first before you start worrying about the access method. So it's just a different method of doing what you can already do. So yeah, can't do anything the user can't already do. So what you need to do, you need to enable it using, there's a link there, but even if you search for it, it kind of comes up first. So you fill a form in, wait a while, usually a couple of days, and then you'll see the little Copilot logo in the Azure, which we should see in the demo. Yeah, it's free to use for now. It's not the same as Copilot for Microsoft 365, so that's different. So that integrates with Word, Excel, Outlook, and all that. Helps you do all kinds of, I think, Power Apps as well, maybe, and Dynamics too. So the Azure one is different. So yeah, per user per month, that is £30. $30. Does that answer your question, Aaron?
Yes.
All right.
Thank you.
Yeah, so it's still in preview. There's some limitations on there as well. So up to 10 resources. So you can say if I want to do something, whether it's start 10 VMs or something like that, it's only going to probably to limit the damage. Something we might do. I don't know. You can send 15 requests in any given chat. And you're allowed 10 chats in the 24-hour period. And if you do get any top things, top this or top that, you'll only get 5 results at the moment as well. And all that's to kind of limit the resources because it uses a lot of power in the back end. Microsoft is probably spinning up hundreds of machines and powerful machines to power this stuff, so they don't want people just completely going wild with it at the moment.
Not until they're paying for it.
Until they're paying for it, yeah, they'll probably remove some of those restrictions, I'm guessing. Just a little bit about those 15 requests in any given chat, and that's because those chats disable the context. So you can say, go and give me a script to create 5 or 10 public IP addresses or something. Give me a CLI script or a PowerShell script. It'll script that for you and give you the code. Brilliant. It might not be what you want, and then you might want to modify that. Okay. Now put that into a loop. I don't want 10 lines of create this whatever, right? So go put that code into a loop. Fine, it can do that. It knows what you're talking about because it saved the context up to 15 in the chat. Now go and parameterize it. Create some variables for this. Change the defaults to that, so it'll know what you're talking about up to those 15, and then after that you have to start a new chat. So does that make sense? If I explain that a little, just the context, it can remember that much. So after that, I mean, it gets rid of it and you have to start a new chat. Okay? And here's a little demo. So I've recorded it, it's pre-recorded because 1, the Wi-Fi is not always brilliant. 2, you can sometimes get differing results when you do it. So you'll ask it a question, you'll get sometimes it'll answer you with the correct thing, sometimes it'll just say, can't be asked. So, or I can't do it, I don't understand the question or something like that. But so in order to try and provide something that actually gives you a better view, and it can take a while. So when you ask a question, it'll think about it. You might get a response about 10 seconds or something. So without Wi-Fi and the speed of it, the video. So you can see the little Copilot logo in the top there. This little fella. So when you click on that, it'll give you some suggestions, and then you can ask it questions in here. Just like like you can see in the top corner, which is the Copilot for Edge. You can use that. You can ask it simple questions to that as well. But this has got context of where you are in the portal as well, so you could go. I'll show you in a minute. So for example, go and find and start some VMs. So remember, it's in preview. So you'll see. I'm not rubbishing it. I'll just show you what to expect. So go and find me all the VMs in my environment with a tag, environment tag of development, for example. So that's sped up a bit because it can take a lot longer. What's it done? It's brought back all kinds of stuff. Key vaults, VNets, everything. So you ask for VMs or machines, it's just gone, found the tags, it just brought back everything. So you might want to, again, this is where that context comes in, restrict the query to VMs only, for example. and then it'll go and run it again. There you go. That's your actual answer that you want. You'll see restrict query to VMs. It's a bit small, but that link that I showed you earlier, and we'll publish it on our brilliant YouTube channel shortly, so you can see it. You'll get to see it properly. But then, so this is the graph query. So remember, I was talking about it's got access to the graph API and create the query for you. So you can say where it's added resource type is virtual machines tag development. So if I had to figure that out myself, looking at the documentation, it's just 4 big. So just get it to create the query from now. I could use that for a dashboard. I could use it for an alert or whatever, reporting or something. So it's really useful just to generate those kind of queries. That's a very simple one, but it's just an example.
Attached.
Yeah.
Does it use graph for pretty much all of its queries?
For the queries, it will do, yeah, and as your monitor as well.
So if you ask it to spin things up or stop, is it effectively executing graph?
In the back end, yeah. So it'll get the back end to find it, and there's an example of that coming up as well. So it'll find what you've asked it for, and then it'll give you the option to go and do it for you as well. But yeah, it'll be this stuff in the background.
So effectively anything that you could do like graph, you could do like Copilot.
Correct. Yeah. Basically, just writing that query for you. So now we found the VMs. It knows what we want. So now I want to start the VMs with a specific tag. Okay. Of development in this case. See, that's sped up quite a bit because it can take quite a while. It's found the VM I want. Just click yes. Alright, it's going to go and start it, so we'll just go back in there, click on it, you can see it started there, refresh, running, and then I just got to stop it manually myself. So it's useful for that, and again, it can only start it if you've got permissions to start it, right? So it's not going to start other people's VMs and stuff. Another kind of useful thing they're working on at the moment is show me a graph query, so this is where the Azure Monitor stuff comes in. Show me the performance of my VM. So in the first question I asked it, give me, so show me the memory and CPU statistics for my virtual machine for the last 48 hours. And so I don't know what you're talking about. All right, can you just show me VM metrics for the last 48 hours? Then it's come back with the CPU, right? So the first query just didn't really know what I was asking it. So now it says, just give me metrics for the 48 hours, and the first one it gives you the CPU usage. And then I said, okay, can you add memory and disk to that? No, is the answer. So basically it's just giving me another graph for CPU. So what's done there is it's just giving me memory usage, so available memory bytes. It's not what I wanted it to do is can you add, layer on top multiple metrics on that, so no, it doesn't really allow to do that yet. But it's a start, and you can click on opening metrics and then you can add them yourself anyway, but that's what it is. Can you show me disk contention? So I wanted to know, alright, is any of my disks underperforming? Is there a bottleneck on my disk? So I would expect to see things like disk queue length, queue depth, and that kind of thing. But what it's given me is disk read bytes, so how much bytes have been written to that, which is not really what I was after, but we'll give it time. What else? Okay, what's the maximum CPU for the last 48 hours? So yeah, it brings back that, but it also can give you a bunch of information about that as well. So it'll give you the text. So your VM reached this kind of metric in the last few hours. So you can use that in documentation. So if you're doing something for customers, they had an issue, you could say, show me the CPU or memory metrics. It'll give you the graph, it'll give you some text. So that's kind of useful. Again, did it have any write performance? Again, it's just giving me the disk write metrics, how much was written to disk. Another one, this is a good context-based one. So now we're in the portal, I want to create a VM. These days you can normally do that by code anyway, but let's say you've got a user who wants to create a VM and not really sure what they're doing, it can help that user out. So they can say, just put a machine name in, And I can see, oh, I've got some availability options, I've got availability zones, I have no idea what that means. Right? So you could say, okay, how do I make my machine highly available, for example? I tried this on web apps as well, but it doesn't work. So how do I make it highly available? And it will suggest, obviously, using availability zones. So yeah, I click on that, yeah, let's do that. So it's created a second zone, it's also created a second machine for me on there. I didn't know you could do that in the name, put a comma and put another machine on, pretty cool. And then yeah, it said, what it also said is go and create a load balancer. Do you want me to create a load balancer? I said yes. So now you've got two machines in availability zones with a load balancer on top, so you've got some high availability there as well. Good. Am I going too quick? No. It's not much longer.
No.
So now I've said, so you can see you've got a premium SSD disk in there, for example. I might want to say, is that the most cost-efficient, cost-effective disk for me? Can you suggest a cheaper disk option? What do you think it said?
No.
I like this one. Can you suggest the cheapest disk option? No, I can give you a cheaper VM. So I'll say, all right, fine, go and find me the cheaper VM. It says you're kind of already using it. Like, try a Spot instance instead. So do you want to enable Spot? Yeah, fine. Okay, so you say, right, go enable that. Click on enable, it'll do that for me. So again, it's tried to make my VM cheaper, but it didn't really understand the questions about the disks. It doesn't know premium SSD versus SSD. What else can I do? So, oh, you can. So it's giving me three options. You can now also enable auto shutdown. Look at your auto shutdown settings. Again, it's all about cost savings. So it's giving me some tips on resilience. It's giving me a couple of tips on cost savings as well. Then I'll say, okay, I'm thinking about security now. I'm a user. I don't know what I'm doing. Can you help me block access from the internet? Not really. But I can check your storage accounts for you. No thanks. Do you want me to run, basically I said, do you want me to run a security check on your storage account? Not really, no. We had the question, can you block access from the internet to my VMs? No, should I check storage account? No thanks. So, summary, we can ask it to ask questions about our Azure environment. We can ask it about documentation as well, produce documentation for our environment, which can be useful. There's sort of metrics and stuff. There is also potential for application development, troubleshooting web apps and things like that. I've not tried that bit yet, but I did see some prompts and suggestions about application code. Go and look at your code and stuff like that as well. So worth thinking about that as well. But what I think it's really good at the moment is help you building scripts and stuff. So I've used it for building an automation script. I wanted an automation script, for example, for Azure Automation using a managed identity to connect to Azure Graph API to manage user accounts. I couldn't find any documentation on that anywhere, none of that worked. And then after a few attempts and a few updates to my query, it actually gave me the code that actually works. And I couldn't find that anywhere, so that was quite useful. So for generating queries, generating scripts, asking questions about your environment, brilliant. But you've seen some of the limitations on that. I think that's it. So any don't forget to subscribe to this rubbish YouTube channel, and thank you everyone for listening.